welcome to the stage. So Marianne Canero, Dr. Joy Kong, Susan Haeger, and Dr. Ben Shamoiel, please.
Do girls on the couch here?
Sure. All right, lunch is over. Everybody ready to have some fun?
Yes.
Yeah, get that energy up. I see everybody over here. Shake it off. Come on. Let's have some fun. All right, so I know you've all been here throughout, so we all know the drill by now. We're going to go through one at a time and maybe just start with you, Marianne, and tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Marianne Canero. I'm the CEO of Karmahealth. We're an exclusive physician network nationwide. We work with leading physician practices, and we help them to grow and scale. So really high quality clinical care, ensuring quality health outcomes for the patients, and then helping that business model to really get structured, grow, and scale to multiple locations. So we're excited to be here today.
All right, thank you for coming. And Dr. Joy Kong.
Thank you so much. So I'm a physician specializing in anti-aging regenerative medicine. So basically, a lot of stem cell treatments. But I am board certified in starting in psychiatry, then addiction medicine, and now is in anti-aging regenerative medicine. So 7 years ago, that's when I came to realize that people are doing stem cells, and stem cells are actually have a tremendous impact on not only people's chronic illnesses, but also longevity. So I dived head in and have a practice in San Fernando Valley, which is ever growing. And also I founded an academy where I train other physicians. I do go to conferences to present different data to doctors. And the academy, has training courses. And I also founded my own stem cell company because I realized that there's a lot of lack of integrity in the field, that there needs to be somebody that kind of safeguard quality of the products and deliver what it says it has, and also provide clinical support to doctors. So that's what I built. So the three arms: clinical treatment, education, and the product provision. So I am looking at scaling because I know what we have is really powerful. So I'm here to learn how to bring this to more people. I've been asked a lot, why don't you have a location here? Why don't you have a location there? We don't have to fly all the way to see you. So that's something that's been on my mind. So I'm happy to learn from everybody here.
Awesome. Hi, Susan Haeger, COO at Restoration Healthcare. We are a privately owned healthcare company that's based in Irvine, California. We have a clinic there, about 12,000 square feet, 6 doctors, about 50 staff. We treat complex chronically ill patients, and we just opened our second location in Westwood yesterday, so we're super excited about that. That's our first actual effort in scaling. We are fortunate to be working with Karmahealth as our scaling partner, and also with Perrin from Crost, who was on the first panel, who's working with us now for capitalization for scaling. And my background is really diverse. I come out of originally the natural health and wellness sector, where I was mainly focused in products. That sector really got bought out by big food, big pharma, and I, through that sector, met a lot of people shopping in health food stores that were chronically ill or had other issues that wasn't resolved through conventional medicine, ended up in integrative healthcare. That really became my specialty focus. And I've been working for a number of years now, just helping businesses in that integrative health and medicine sector scale and grow. I found Restoration Healthcare, was super excited because the work that they do with patients, they do through PPO insurance. And that includes IV nutrition therapy and other modalities that are just very difficult to get covered. And loved the business model, loved the owners and what they were trying to do, and I've been with them for 3 years, and we're finally at that point where we're ready to grow. So excited to be here.
Hello everybody, my name is Ben Shamoiel, Dr. Ben Shamoiel. Been in clinical practice for 23 years as a chiropractor. We started the LAchiropractor.com here in Los Angeles and grew that through the years of scaling that practice, and our goal is to have at least 5 to 7 clinics here in the Los Angeles area that we're working on. I love the use of arms. We have a lot of arms going on. We have One of our arms has to do with degenerative disc issues that we help restore without surgery. So we have a whole clinic that's dedicated to disc and neuropathy issues that we are now scaling nationwide. And recently we've been working with patients who've been having a lot of neurodegenerative issues. One of the things that I've been looking at the most is where the future is going with all of the issues people are having with neurodegeneration and neuroplasticity, and how what we are bringing to the table with our new low-level light lasers have been helping restore. And I think that is one of the next things that we're looking to scale. So dealing with concussions, dealing with a lot of issues that have to do with the brain is pretty much where my 23 years have taken me. So that's where I am so far. Glad to be here. Thank you.
All right, you can hold that a moment longer. We'll make our way back. There you go. Come on, you're not off the hook yet. So I've known Dr. Ben for a long time, and this particular panel is all about scaling, how to do it. We're going to tackle that topic from a lot of different angles. And Dr. Ben, I'm curious to hear from your end, teamwork, like your team, like the actual people behind, what are helping you scale the LA Chiropractor. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, working with a company that taught us how to scale. That was really important, to have a proper integrator who can really see your vision and allow you to express your vision. And so the integrator is pretty much somebody who has helped me execute. So in that growth, it really has to do with your team. It has to do with the 3 R's. Is the right person in the right seat doing the right job. And so when I remember in my first time, how much I had to pay to learn that lesson, right? And when you graduate school, nobody teaches you how to hire, what to look for, how to put the right person in the right seat. That little lesson alone cost me $15,000 back in 2012. But once I learned that, right now none of my team members have ever been terminated. They've all left, and they've left due to the fact that they're moving away, or they went to chiropractic school, or they went to something leading into the health profession because of what they felt. So having that team member and learning for mentors and people who really know how to grow your team is really the key factor. And then when you have the right systems in play and the right people in play, then it becomes easy to duplicate. And that's what's been my biggest growth factor.
Anybody else want to chime in on that one? Or?
Well, team is really what it takes, and that is just an expensive lesson to learn so many times. And I think every time that you have another stage of growth, the team itself has to grow. And so I think that's been one of our hardest things, is growing out of an original founder, smaller business into that larger scalable business mindset. And a lot of times the people that you've hired in that smaller business paradigm aren't really ready for that growth, and they need a lot of development, or they may choose to do other things. But if you can't get past that, it's really difficult to grow. It's been my experience. You guys have any comments on that one?
Sure, I'll speak to that one. So from our perspective, we work across different specialties, different types of practices, different geographies, but it's always the same. It's the people, it's the processes, and it's the tech. And when it comes to a team, you might not have the right person in the right seat to begin with, but if you have the right culture and they're a fit for you, you got to invest in training them. You got to invest in taking that time. So sometimes you have to do a little more walking than running. At times, right? You find your team might just need a little bit of a pause. Perhaps you have some new tech you want to roll out in your practice, or some new, methodologies for servicing accounts or patients. Your team might not be ready as fast as you are, right? So you kind of have to unfreeze, right? Train and refreeze so that they can continue to be a part of that. And as Susan said, sometimes they just need to move on. It's not the right people.
And so we'll keep it on you, Marianne. So talk to maybe about we talked about team. Tell us a little about maybe some of the other challenges that go into scaling, whether it's, I know we talked about a little bit about regional here, maybe even national, like some of the challenges that go into that.
Yeah, I think, again, the challenge is scalability, right? You really have to understand what are the key points of your practice. Who are your patients? What are you really serving? Right? Sometimes it takes some refining to get to that. What's your true modality and specialty? So in order to scale, you understand fundamentally who you are, your value proposition, and who your patient is, who you're serving. And then from there, the challenge becomes, okay, well, where are we going to go next? Right? Because not every market is going to have your patients, not every market is going to have the right people for you. Right? And then there's the timing perspective as to when it is that you're going to grow and scale. So another challenge is finding that right time. Right? We're talking perhaps now more about capital. Right? The first panel talked about how right now there's not as much transactional volume, right? So as call it a small medium practice and you're looking to perhaps grow regionally or nationally, where's that right capital partner? Where's that right, other practitioner that's going to come in and help you to scale? So there's challenges across the board, but I'd say the solutions are time and attention and making sure that you have all those right pieces of the puzzle.
What about some of the technical side of things when it comes to scaling? So aside from team, whether it's the real estate component, whether all the other things that go into it, give us some of that.
So from a real estate component, it's really interesting. So my background really is in capital markets and real estate investment, development, and management. And it's probably one of the least considered when you talk about medical practices, right? You've had your traditional medical office buildings, so that's kind of a turnkey solution for most practitioners, but they're not always going to be right next to your market, right? So technical aspects is where's your patient population? What's the proximity to the piece of real estate you're looking at? And does that piece of real estate serve your purposes, right? Do you have lab requirements? Do you have certain machinery or equipment requirements? Even going into diagnostics, right? If you decide to have x-rays or other types of heavy equipment, that's really kind of the meat and potatoes, right? We have some real estate experts in the room that can talk for hours about lease negotiations and all those little nuances, but that's dollar signs, right? If you're in the wrong place, you've signed a lease for 5 to 10 years, and you have a parking issue, you have a signage issue, you have a co-tenancy issue, right? That's technical, it's not really something a doctor is gonna think about, per se, but as a business, your real estate is a foundational component.
And Dr. Joy, this one's for you. So thinking about what Dr. Ben said about the arms, you have multiple arms in your business and in your practice. As you're scaling, how do you transmit that information across your different practices? How does that take place?
Yeah, I think scaling, on my part, I think the academy is the one that's going to be a supportive role. So whatever I'm, scaling, whether or not it's a stem cell product sales for 2 physicians across the country, so I'm training physicians, or for my clinic, I think it's an enhancement for patient education. That's a supportive role. So I don't think I need much scaling, when it comes to that. I can always provide physician education by doing, a webinar once a month or something like that. So that's the easy part. The part that requires a lot more attention is the stem cell company portion. We are setting up our own laboratory, so that's very exciting, where we can be as innovative as we want to produce these birth tissue derived stem cell products, which has incredible support, clinical research support all around the world. So that, we just need to put out some of the best and most innovative products. But, I see companies with the best products, if you don't have a good sales team, then it means nothing. So fortunately, I am, bringing on board some very dynamic people who are very driven, who can really bring more and more doctors on board. So that part, I think is underway. I'm very excited about. The part I think that requires more thought and is a little more challenging is the clinical, providing clinical care, setting up more locations. So that's the one that I think requires a lot of thought as far as what model we go for. Is it a franchise model? Is it a licensing model? Or is it something that's a little bit different? So I would love to, talk with anybody that's interested and looking at a potential. I do have, potential investors, people who really want to work with me. I know what the potential is, but the devil's in the details of how to do that. So the challenging part is, how do you set up a new location? How do you find the people? How do you make sure it's rented correctly and legally, it's all covered? So that's, that's the part. I think with the other arms all, firmly in place, we have the best products, and we, and the key is to deliver the clinical treatments where we can really make a huge difference for patients, give them a good experience.
Yeah, thank you. And Susan, I think Chirag, your timeliness of just opening up another location, I'm guessing Chirag just curated the perfect panelist today on this one too. Thank you, Chirag. And everybody at home, Chirag knows how to do this. It's good.
And I really hear what you're saying, just in terms of setting up that clinical operation, because, and what Marianne was talking to on the real estate, we leased our property in Westwood like 2 weeks before COVID hit.
Oh, wow.
And so that was really difficult. We went through several years of not being able to do anything in the building, and then finally getting it underway again. But post-COVID, LA permitting was very, very difficult. And so I think a lot of times as clinicians and business people that you don't have that specific expertise, you don't anticipate the problem. So I know you had said that you brought in someone, this integrator, who was really helping you. I think that's the most important thing. And looking at each piece of growth is where is the expertise you need to do it at its highest level, so that you're not learning in the rearview mirror and spending a whole lot of money getting there. And I think what we have seen in opening the second clinic is that it forced us to look at the parts of our business that were really inefficient and that we didn't have good systems and process, and to put those in place so that as we went into the second location, we could really scale up much more quickly than we've been able to do in our first location.
A great point you bring up about the timing side of things. Now, this doesn't have to be for you. For whoever wants to jump on this landmine, is it a good time to scale? Who wants to jump on that one? Nobody?
Well, I'm just going to say for us, we decided
to go round robin on that.
Yeah,
Who wants to jump on that one?
And I'd say for us, we have so much patient demand. We treat complex, chronically ill patients, and particularly post-COVID, this is just an area that unfortunately continues to grow. People really need this help, and regardless of all the other factors in the market, the patient demand is there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the demand is, I think, more than ever. And in an area of Los Angeles where what our challenge is finding the right doctors. It's not really young doctor friendly, so it's very hard to find that. So it is a time to scale, but we're dealing with the economics of one of the most expensive places to live, and bring in younger doctors or newer doctors is the biggest challenge that we're finding. But there's no better time than now, because the demands in healthcare, alternative health, regenerative medicine, functional medicine are people are looking for this. And I think it's probably the one thing that COVID has caused is people to really do their own research and figure out what's going on, and looking for answers and looking for pathways. And more than ever, it's not even in Los Angeles, I'm hearing it across the country, that people are looking for the services that everybody here on the panel is providing.
Joy, you're ready to scale, so you must be thinking it's a good time.
Yeah, so throughout COVID, our clinic has only grown. We've never really felt the impact of COVID. People were flying from all around the country, around the world. It hasn't dampened a bit. And then I think, I was hoping the COVID, it's gonna accelerate growth of alternative or holistic health, and I think it has. People are paying more attention. What I've been focusing on is, a little bit more on the branding side. I wasn't really consciously looking for, but, I was connected with somebody that, helped me, instead of focusing on marketing, which I haven't done much at all, but on branding. So having the right image on social media, especially, I have a YouTube channel that's, doing very well, that, I think once you are showing who you are as a clinician, as an educator, and you're providing valuable information, there's a level of trust. And so people, I've heard from so many of them that they go down my rabbit hole, listening to all my podcasts, and then they're already convinced that I was the person, that I have to be the person that they come to see. So that part, I think, establishing something that's gonna live on, perpetually. So you're building something that's ever growing, and then, people are gonna just keep coming without any further effort. So now is definitely the time, we're growing and we have to hire more people. So, how do I capitalize on this momentum? Yeah, that's
Well, don't worry, my random bee trivia during commercial break, that was a live TikTok. It's not recorded, so I didn't mess up your branding. But you've been on our show too as well, yes?
Yes.
So fun, such a good guest, and we have to think for a great guest.
Oh, thank you so much. I love podcasts.
Sure. So I'm a little biased, right? Because we're in the business of helping private practices to grow. But in all honesty, it is a great time to invest in your practice. If you solidly have a vision that you want to provide a certain level of care, a certain quality of service to a patient population, and you do actually have a team that you've built with proper protocols and systems, then you have to invest in those people. You have to invest in the right systems that are going to give you the automated technology, the digitization, so that becomes scalable. And then, you have finance partners out there that can help you. There's investors, there's larger groups out there looking to acquire, and there's banks, there's traditional lenders out there that can give you the capital to be able to grow. So, in terms of our perspective is, there's incredible opportunity for really strong private practices that have incredible care, incredible teams, and they just need the right business fundamentals, some tweaks and some adjustments, and run with it, because as you're saying, there's a lot of demand from patients. We're growing into double digits, well past double digits, right? 20% of the US population is soon going to be over the age of 65. Right, so they need care. There's a lot of care needs there, and it extends beyond primary care. It extends into longevity, life extension, quality of life. So those are all opportunities for private practices to really get into, right? You can bring in multi-specialty providers. You can work with functional, integrative, regenerative medicine providers. So there's just incredible opportunity for practices that think big and that have that vision. I'd say that's probably it's an elite group that get to really take advantage of the opportunity. But if that's you, or if you feel that that's something that is calling to you as a practitioner, I would jump on it. I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, and just one other caveat on that we learned is, when should you be doing organically funded growth and when should you get capital? Because there's only so much growth you can do organically and still operate your business and manage cash flow and all those things. But at the point where you go get capital, your business has to be in a certain state of readiness for that. And I think as businesses are really looking at that opportunity, that's an important question to ask. I know it sounds like you looked at that in your business as you really started bringing people in.
So we kind of got lucky, and so that in my realm, having everything in the preparation, the backstory, having the team and ready, and the procedurals and the manuals and the structure, we looked into actually purchasing other practices. So in our field, we were looking for a lot of doctors that are out doing great, but they just don't have the back end. And so what happened for us and what made it easy for us is they already had cash flow. We walked in there, we restructured the entire office. We brought in our teams, our methodology, our scaling background. And so that's what we're looking to do with even more of the offices that are out there, with some of the doctors who might be struggling and need a little boost. And that's really what has opened the door for our sector, because we're good at it. and there's a lot of people that need our help.
Let's talk about practice differentiators. So regenerative medicine, I know Dr. Ben does some stuff on light therapy or laser therapy. Let's talk about just practice differentiators, like what makes you unique. If you want to kick it off, and that's definitely around.
You know, chiropractic, I loved it. I love being a chiropractor. After a while, I was looking for something bigger, and I was looking for something a little bit deeper. That led me to the neurology aspect of it, the functional neurology. And so, you know, one of the things that I was noticing in practice that, and I saw some stats on this, but people were starting to lose their memory a little bit earlier, fogginess, and all of these memory kind of cognitive issues that I started to see. And I through chiropractic, I didn't know how to really work on that until I came across cold laser, or low-level laser therapy, which now we're able to utilize and serve so many people. So there was a time that I was looking for associates, and then when I stumbled across the laser, I was like, wow. You know, they were talking about, can doctors ever be replaced, or certain things can ever be replaced? For the first time last year, I was like, oh, I could be replaced with this laser. It's doing things that nothing else does. So I've been using it for the brain, and doing my own clinical studies on depression, autism, dementia, patients with dementia that bring in their parents in. So we're seeing a lot of case studies, not clinical studies per se, but it's case studies of huge change with laser. So it's giving us the competitive edge. It's cleared for neck and disc and plantar fasciitis, but we're really trying to push the envelope with the neurodegeneration. And I think a lot of the things that people are dealing with, even long haul COVID, or autoimmune diseases, really generate back to some brain function that could have been caused by some kind of concussive force. And so when dealing with the brain with concussions, we're seeing their autoimmune things, their autoimmune conditions start to change and shift. And we've seen some great things, even with patients that have had, they wouldn't usually come to us with Lyme disease, but we're seeing how the laser is really transcending their health care and their transformation just through clinical visits. So ours has been laser, and it's amazing. So if anybody's ever interested or wants to hear more, let me know.
Great, very interesting. I'd say for Restoration Healthcare, we were uniquely co-founded by a doctor of chiropractic, who's also a functional neurologist, and a doctor of osteopathic medicine, a DO. And they teamed up so that they could do both this kind of really systems-based work around functional neurology, as well as the medical components through the very high-level medical care. So we focus on complex chronically ill patients. We have a unique model in that we are able to get care covered through PPO insurance, and that includes infusion therapy. So we do a significant amount of infusion therapy. We have found that our patients come to us pretty much with their mitochondrial function pretty debilitated, and in general it's difficult to get at that through a lot of oral nutrition, because it's not going to get through the gut. It's not really doing the work. We do a lot of high-dose IV nutrition therapy. And what we found is that you can, you see people, they have a lot of need, but if you just start serving everyone for everything, it's difficult to get a business model really refined and fine-tuned so that you can scale it. So we have made the choice to just focus on the complex chronically ill patient. We have a very unique diagnostic protocol that we put them through to begin with, so that we can get baseline, and then we track outcomes as we progress. And we work with Outcome ND, which is a tech-based outcome measure company, and we are tracking that progress with our patients so our doctor can see that progress visit to visit. And then we are really looking to bring people in. It takes about 18 months to really kind of get at the systems and what their issues are, and then help them move on into wellness and then just long-term maintenance. But our goal is to have our patients who come in, many of whom seen 12 or 15 doctors, or they've been sick for 8 or 10 years, and help them be able to get to this level of quality of life and functionality that they can just move on with their life and not be in this complex chronic state. So that's our point of differentiation.
So I personally prefer, lean operations. I don't want to be the jack of all trades. I want to provide something, I always say, the biggest bang for your buck, both for patients, for their time and their choice, and also as a provider, for my sanity and what I want out of life. So I focus on powerful treatments that can make huge impact. So what I decided was that I was going to focus on stem cell treatments, which really can shift things in a drastic way. For example, there's one very well-known doctor who suffers from Lyme disease himself, who is a peptide expert, an integrated medicine expert, hormone expert. He tried everything there is, and everything helped a little bit, but he was still not functioning very well. Still, 30 pounds overweight because he couldn't exercise, didn't have the energy, and he was, waking up at 2 p.m. Most days. And once he used stem cell treatment, all of a sudden his cholesterol went back to normal. He lost 30 pounds because he had energy to, go back to workout. So there's a huge shift. So I want to give people something that's, that's really powerful, really elegant, using nature's intelligence, probably the most powerful intelligence, because that's the intelligence that created us. So stem cell treatment is what I was focusing on, but also I know the importance of different modalities, so I handpicked a few things that I would incorporate. The peptides is one thing that I think is gonna, in the future, replace, majority of medications, but that's gonna take some time, take some, fighting against the powers to be. But those allow me to target particular organs. The stem cells can give this overall healing push, but then if I want to target, let's say, the brain or the weight loss aspect, the carbohydrate metabolism, or mitochondria health, or the skin, I have things I can target. And then lastly, I was trained as a psychiatrist, so I'm always interested in the brain and interested in, of course, relieving suffering, because I can't imagine worse suffering than mental health suffering, because it robs you of the entire joy of being alive. So what I found as the most powerful and interesting tool is ketamine. So ketamine therapy can potentially rewire your brain. It's amazing for depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, or chronic pain. So we do utilize that to target things that these other modalities have trouble really digging deep into. So, and the rest, if we do ozone therapy, we can do NAD, we can do some IV infusions, but those are not my mainstay. I use them as adjunct to what we do. So, I tell everybody, get a good integrated medicine doctor who can really work up everything that you need, your nutritional status, your hormone status, your toxic levels, but I don't want to do that on our end, because that consumes a tremendous amount of energy. That's a whole other business model. So I want to stay more specialized.
Thank you.
I do not have a medical practice, so I cannot speak to our unique value proposition. But what I can say is what you just saw, right? This dynamic right here, this is what's unique. So you have incredible practitioners that could actually be working together across modalities, helping to refer patients over to each other when it's beyond your scope, or you see that there's a new innovative technology or modality that another practice that you really trust is looking into. Then you can continue that care for your patient and send them on over to the right place. So I think, creating your own ecosystems, your own referral networks is really, really important for a practice.
All right, well, let's start getting the audience involved here. Come on, you guys are making me do all the work, asking all the questions. Come on, Shrek, get this mic, let's get them going.
Cool.
All right, first question. Who's got it? Come on.
Anybody?
And you're on, Chirag, what's your question? All right, while everyone's thinking.
Yeah, I'm actually curious, just what have you guys done so far to drive in more patients for your practices? I know that's been a struggle that a lot of doctors that I've had a chance to work with when I'm doing marketing for them. I guess, what are you guys doing that's specific to you to keep, and engage them too, right? Retain the same patients, because that's a whole other issue, but anyway.
Well, how I'm going to answer, I'll be very surprised if my colleagues here don't have the same answer, which is we don't really have any dearth of patients trying to get in. We have had word of mouth has been our primary patient driver for a very long time, and we're just getting to where we're looking at more formalized marketing. And I think it's because it's difficult to find doctors that will handle a lot of these things that patients need.
Yeah, thank you. I realized I forgot to mention one of the modalities, which is a new one that we incorporated, which is aesthetics. So this is about laser treatment to rejuvenate. It's an area that I kind of ignored because I was trying to heal the body, but I realized, helping people to look younger and more youthful can have tremendous impact on their sense of well-being. So that's another element that is dovetailing very well with stem cell therapy. People have the money, they want to get stem cell treatment, and in the meantime, we can make them look a lot younger because the skin is taking the brunt of the assault from the environment, so it does need a little bit more attention. And now we have this powerful tool. So as far as driving patients, I think, word of mouth is a portion of it, but the, building the brand and providing the education has been the most powerful driver. And then the rest is just, I think, building on each other, different modalities, helping each other, because patients realize they have a few different needs, either aesthetics or their brain health. So that has, I just focusing on education. And,
Ours was built on education. I think if you really want to set yourself apart, especially in certain fields, you could get really gimmicky on TikTok and Instagram and all of these things. And one of the things I always promise myself is we're not going to get gimmicky and follow these some of these trends. Funny, but for us, it was really informing people. And we get calls from all over the world. As I say to my team, and notice, I'm really popular in Bangladesh. I don't know how, but we get calls all the time. Why? Because it might have been my TikTok, but why? Because we're talking about things that are relevant, that cannot be resolved in other parts of the world. When there was another lady talking about Asia and things like that. So when we're putting out content and it goes around the world and you get a ping from the other side, you're doing something right, where people are calling and asking, hey, what do we, Saudi and Bangladesh, I did. And then everybody was here for the summer, and and we were really, really busy. And so, but putting out good information, really educating. After that, it's got to be a 5-star level of service that really generates, and that's one of our, 10 years, 15 years ago, I wrote down it's going to be, for me back then, Ritz-Carlton was it, right? So it was like, it's got to be the Ritz service. So like, it's in our playbook, it's in our training manuals. So with the top-end service and great education, and it's hard for us to get educated because we're so busy now, it's hard to get back on doing those things, but it's helped us a lot.
Any other questions?
Got a follow-up.
Where do you guys see the future of regenerative medicine going? And kind of a timeline now that I feel like regenerative medicine is kind of the next evolution, going from traditional to full-on wellness and more holistically thinking. Where do you guys see that transition and the future of it going, and where are we at, kind of, because it feels like a cusp of where it's really going and what it can be. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, if the pharmaceuticals can get out of our way, we could make some big changes. But the demand is going through the roof, and people are learning more and more because we're putting out content to educate them. So stem cell, it's one of the most amazing things. I don't know, but there's times where I'm like, this is a stem cell moment. We've done everything in our pocket, like in our care here, and so it's time to move on forward. So the technology with laser and stem cell, and doctors that are using stem cell and laser together, like it's becoming so much faster and getting into the public's eye. And I think the demand is that more and more people want to go to that instead of treating like pain management. I don't want my pain to be managed. I want it to be taken care of. And that's really going to happen on the end. That's people that are leading that through the technologies that are coming out with chronic diseases and regenerative medicine and functional and neurological. These are going to really be the pathways.
I would just say, I think it's very exciting that post-COVID in particular, people have taken a lot of their health determination into their own hands in a much deeper way. And so education is a really important component of that. People are willing to try things that they weren't perhaps willing to try before. And there's less trust in the overall healthcare system having an answer for them, because through COVID we saw a lot that there weren't answers. So we find that people are really seeking, they're looking deeper than they've ever looked before. And a lot of people now have the experience that they've tried something that was recommended through education and it's worked for them, or they had a friend who it worked for and they're willing to try it now. Maybe 5 years ago, 3 years ago, they weren't.
Yeah, so I've been pondering this question, where are we going and how are we going to get there? So a big difference I've noticed since 7 years ago when I started was that people will come to me, their question usually was, well, doc, tell me, what is a stem cell? But nowadays, I don't hear that question anymore. People are asking, hey, I know stem cells are amazing, but I have this condition, can it help? So there's a shift in the consciousness and awareness. So I, predicted when I first started in the field is one day stem cells are going to be as commonplace as antibiotics. You're going to use it, to treat conditions and to prevent problems. If you get sick, then get some stem cells, right? Whatever illness you have, it can modulate your immune system, can calm inflammation, can promote this regeneration, can fight cancer. But if you are, let's say you have to go for surgery, right? Surgery is never going to be, gone. We're going to break things that need to be put back together. But, before surgery or right after surgery, get some stem cells. Just put some stem cells. Like antibiotics, you probably don't need antibiotics. If you have stem cells, you're going to have very little chance of infection, and your body is going to recover 2 or 3 times as fast. So just, stem cells before and after procedures. And stem cells to prevent you from getting old. Just extend the amount of time that you're staying in youth and extend your lifespan. From animal studies, extends lifespan by about 30%. I think the technology is still evolving. We may come a time we're going to live twice as long. We're going to live to our 200, 300s. I don't think it's far-fetched, especially if we tap into quantum physics. That's a whole other subject. But right now with the technology, we can extend probably lifespan by about 30%. But the time that you've lived longer are going to be the time, majority of the time, vast majority of that extra time is going to be useful time. So it's not like you're crickety, 30% longer, but you're going to be really, vibrant until you just, the flame goes out. So I think we're going to get there. It's hard to say, how fast. But if you believe in the evolution of technology and seeing how exponential things are going, I think it's not inconceivable that in our lifetime that we see drastic extension of lifespan and a huge shift in human health. Yeah, so it's very exciting. Try to take good care of yourself.
And I think that's a good way to end it. Oh, we have one more?
Mine is quick.
So commonality I've found across the board, we've done a lot of polls, especially with the younger generations. They have no idea where to go to even start with taking care of themselves. And then let's get to the older generations where technology is becoming too advanced that it's hard for them to find exactly what they need. So something that we're building is a platform to connect it all, but you guys as founders of your guys' own facilities, would you guys be more willing to partner with, like, let's say an app that would just connect people rather than having to keep building your own word of mouth system, whereas like say there's one central app that John Doe could go say, I need to go get stem cell research or go get stem cell products, but has no idea, can just go in and find your location that's closest to them, or vice versa with needing care?
Well, I think that's a question for the public, what they will prefer. If there's a really trusted app that people feel that are delivering the information and really giving them the breadth of information and really have done their research on what providers are, ortho providers, that will be very helpful. But I think that's quite a task, right, to filter through for people.
It definitely has been, and I've been getting a lot of feedback from founders with the same response. Everybody wants to change, but when the change comes, everybody's so hesitant to step into who's going to be the first to try it? Because at the end of the day, trying a new system, word of mouth is great, but at the end of the day, like you said, if you want to scale and expand, what's the better way if you could geotag the location which you're moving to be able to find the users in that area that needs your services, right?
Yeah.
So you're reaching for the holy grail, my friend. Everybody wants to know where to find their market and how to instantaneously match. I think, there's one measure out there, and I'll ask actually the question to the audience here. If you were to move into a new city, where would you go to find a doctor? How would you do it? What's the first thing you'd do? Right? You'd go to your browser, Google, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, whichever you use, and you'd search blah, blah, blah doctor near me, right? And now there's a predetermined answer based on your location, your search history, and basically some, cursory reviews that somebody gave on that doctor. Oh, the receptionist was nice, parking's great. How does that affect your health? How is that going to be your gender-specific, age-specific, condition-specific provider, right? So there are solutions that should be out there. There's some that we're actually working with technology-wise in terms of outcomes. So we should be measuring healthcare providers based on their outcomes.
100%.
We shouldn't be rating them based on Google's methodology or Yahoo's methodology. So
based off the patient experience.
So I don't think there's an app. I don't think there'll be a clearinghouse. What I think we need, and I think we are moving in that direction, is alternative measures for identifying a healthcare solution, right? So research, you find things on YouTube, you'll find your channel, you'll find a podcast, so you start to find some answers, but ultimately you're gonna need to have better rating system for matching condition to provider.
Right. So right now we're working with the dentist office to do specifically that. So based off of the operations and the patient experience with every single operation with dental implants, we can now build a review system behind those dentists, then recommend them to people in the area based off of their experiences. So that would, in whole form, help a lot of people find that healthcare doctor in their local area, right? Especially when you're geotagging or culture really comes into play, because certain cultures sometimes don't want to go to certain areas, so you want to be able to also be able to put people what they're comfortable with, right? All right, I think that's a wrap for this one. Well, thank you everyone for coming out. Appreciate it.